The Unitarian Universalist seventh principle advocates respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Real quick, can everybody hear me? Yes. Excellent. Okay. It was included in the completely revised principles that were adopted in 1985. Our society's awareness of the human impact on the environment is not a new idea. Ecology, or the study of organisms and their environment, was a term coined by Ernst Haeckel, a German scientist, in 1869. In 1935, Arthur Tansley coined the term ecosystem for the biological community of interacting organisms and their physical environment. By the 1950s, we were becoming painfully aware of pollution of our soil, rivers, streams, and oceans, as well as our atmosphere. Rachel Carson published her paradigm-shifting Silent Spring in 1962, depicting the devastating damage of insecticides and ushering in the age of global awareness of environmental interconnectedness and humanity's devastating impact on it. Indigenous cultures have always held a view of vital interrelatedness with Mother Earth, a view which has been seen as quaint and sentimental at best, and not to be taken seriously by much Western nature-conquering attitudes that, while bringing much technological advancement and consequent material wealth and comfort, have also brought us to our present predicament. Currently, as we face the crisis of climate change with its accompanying ecological degradation, habitat loss, and resulting species extinction, the relevance of our seventh principle occupies a central place in our lives. Recent discoveries and advances show that our interconnectedness is even more total than we thought. What these findings seem to point to is that while we are truly inextricably entangled and can't afford to continue to act in the world as though it were inexhaustible, the very connection that makes for so much damage can also work to bring our lives into harmonious balance with our biosphere, our beautiful blue boat home. I've been following Deepak Chopra for over 40 years. He's a very well-known spiritual teacher and advocate of alternative medicine and Ayurveda. He is a neuroendocrinologist who received his medical training in India and did his specialization residency in the US. I found his blend of Eastern spirituality and Western science really suited to my spiritual search. He chose neuroendocrinology to find a biological basis for the influence of thoughts and emotions. He has always been interested in why people with the same illness react so differently to the same treatment. He says all physicians are aware of this reality, but seldom talk about it. In the 70s, radioimmunoassays were a new technique for measuring what is happening in biological systems. New interest in neurotransmitters such as dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin, among others, rose with a new technique and were named molecules of emotion. Emotional experiences generate neuropeptides, creating different body chemistries depending on the emotion. Excuse me. This was very interesting to researchers, including those looking into consciousness. So they started looking everywhere in the body for receptor sites for these molecules. Immune cells have receptor sites for these molecules. So as you listen to this right now, you are having not only an intellectual cognitive response to it, but also an emotional one. The cells of your immune system are also affected by your internal response. Therefore, your emotional state impacts your immune response. The immune system is a circulating nervous system. Immune cells have memory and make choices such as whether or not to attack a cell. Chopra sees this as a form of consciousness. Then there are gut feelings, which have been happening to humans since time immemorial. Our gut makes the same chemicals as our brain when we have emotions or thoughts. Also, more recently, it's been discovered that 80% of heart cells are neurocardio cells and also make molecules of emotion, giving a physiological basis to those powerful feelings that originate from our hearts in time of deep emotion. And what of our mind? According to this view, the mind is not in the brain, but everywhere, in every cell in our body. All our cells are in constant communication, and they communicate in two ways: local and by correlation. Local communication is the one we are familiar with. It involves energy and information, i.e., speaking, an email, a phone call, or a Zoom meeting. Then there's non-local communication, which is instantaneous. It is correlation, where every cell correlates with every other cell instantly. Our bodies have 100 trillion cells doing multiple actions per second, and every cell tracks and synchronizes with every other cell instantly. No messages, no signals. This is called non-local correlation. This is the new field of quantum biology, which is defined by the Royal Society, the oldest scientific academy in continuous existence and based in London, as the field of study that investigates processes in living organisms that cannot be adequately described by the classical laws of physics. At the cellular level, biological organisms don't function linearly, they function in an integrated manner. Our bodies are integrated wholes, participating in the biosphere of which we are an activity. We see our bodies and our environment as separate, but the whole phenomenon is an integrated system. The trees are our lungs, the earth is recycling as our bodies, the waters are our circulatory system, the air is our breath. Very poetic. We have a personal body and an extended body, and they are both equally ours because we cannot live without one or the other. They are both crucial to our sense of I exist. Another realization is that our body is not a structure. It is a process. It is a verb, not a noun. Nothing in the universe is static. We live in a world of seemingly static structures, but when we look at matter at the atomic and subatomic level, it is dynamic. So also with the body. It is in constant exchange with all the forces and elements of the universe. It happens through eating, breathing, digestion, metabolism, elimination, and how we experience the world through our five senses. Looking at the extent of interchange in the biosphere, radioisotope studies show that you have 1 million atoms that were once in the body of Jesus, or the Buddha, or anyone else you want to think about. In just the last 3 weeks, 1 quadrillion atoms have gone through your body that have gone through the body of every other living species on the planet. A tree in France, a squirrel in Africa, a taxi driver in Beijing. You have stuff right now in your body that was in another organism just 3 weeks ago. In less than 1 year, not the 5 to 7 years we used to think, we recycle 98% of all the matter in our bodies. So at the atomic molecular level, you have a new liver every 6 weeks, a new stomach lining every 5 days, and new skin once a month. So we are all in our 2023 models. So who are we? The body has recycled from the biosphere. Deepak says our consciousness is constantly outliving the molecules through which it expresses itself. The new cells have the memory of the previous cells, so that's the continuation, is the memory. Then there's a whole realm of our experience which is trans-empirical. It is subjective or internal. Thoughts, feelings, desires, imagination, insight, intuition, creativity, for which science has no explanation. This is the hard problem of science. When we close our eyes, we see what is happening in our subjectivity, and that also influences what is happening in our bodies. Going deeper. When you look at matter deeply enough, it becomes non-material. We have these recycling molecules that make up our bodies. They are made up of atoms, which in turn are made up of subatomic particles, which are coming from an emptiness. That emptiness, or the quantum vacuum of physics, is where the real action is. You and I and everything exists because the quantum vacuum is there. This is not a new realization. Rumi, the 13th century poet, says, "We come spinning out of nothingness, scattering stars like dust." The Buddhists talk of shunyata, the state beyond the subject-object split. 1 cubic centimeter of space has 10 to the power of 37 times more mass energy than the entire universe. And science doesn't know how the quantum world becomes the macro world. Sir Arthur Ellington, who confirmed Einstein's theory of relativity in 1919, said, "Something unknown is doing, we don't know what." Our bodies are recycling and dynamic processes of energy and information. This paradigm is called monistic idealism. There's only consciousness, and it experiences itself as the mind and the body in the physical world. We have looked at the body. So what is the mind? The mind is an embodied and relational process that regulates the flow of energy and information. Energy equals work. Information is data. Information theory puts it another way. It says information is the resolution of uncertainty. That has a nice ring to it. Deepak asks, so where is my mind? My mind is entangled with yours. Our minds are entangled right now as you listen to what I'm saying. It's all a single process, and it's entangled. There is no such thing as a separate mind. Buddha was right. Everything that you call yourself depends on the other. My thoughts and feelings are entangled with yours. Our minds are entangled because the mind is not separate from the body. And we are all entangled with all other organisms and with the living biosphere in which we exist. And it goes on to the entirety of the cosmos. Entanglement is horizontal. We are entangled in space-time. It is also vertical. Our minds are influenced by those of our parents, who may no longer be with us, but we have memories. This goes back to their parents and their culture and history. It is very complex. Our minds exist because of all minds that have ever existed and will affect those that exist in the future. Now we have the internet, so the entanglement is increasing. I think we are all acutely aware of being impacted by that reality. So our deep connectedness is so much more than just a nice unity concept. It is total. So what does this mean from the point of view of human well-being? Dr. Chopra is also senior scientist with the Gallup organization. They have been conducting worldwide surveys for many years on 5 aspects of human well-being: career well-being, social well-being, physical and emotional well-being, and financial and community well-being. We will look at career and social well-being. So for career well-being, they asked a simple question: do you love your job? Only 20% of the people that were surveyed in many parts of the world like what they do for a living. There were slight differences between countries, but the average was 20%. A whopping 80% of people don't like what they do for a living. Another remarkable finding is that more people in our civilization die at 9 o'clock on Monday morning than at any other time. We are the only species that knows the difference between Monday and Tuesday. Another thought-provoking finding: if your supervisor at work ignores you, your rate of disengagement goes up by 45%, and within 3 to 4 months, you start to get sick. If your manager, instead of ignoring you, criticizes you, your rate of disengagement goes down to 20%, because now you are being noticed. If you are ignored, it means you don't exist. If your manager now acknowledges a single strength that you have, your rate of disengagement decreases to less than 1%, and your physical health improves. These results have been replicated many times. So being in a good working environment makes everything improve. Productivity, well-being, health, happiness, everything improves. Social well-being. If you have a happy friend, your happiness goes up by 15%. And if your happy friend has a happy friend that you don't know, it goes up another 10%. And if your happy friend has a happy friend who has a happy friend that you don't know, it keeps going up, going to the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th degree of separation. Happiness keeps going up. How is it possible that the happiness of people that you don't know affects your happiness? Erwin Schrödinger, the Nobel Prize-winning quantum physicist, said, "Consciousness is singular. It has no plural. At the deepest level, consciousness is unified. Like electricity that powers all our devices and our way of life, it is all one force. In the same way, consciousness is downloading in everyone from the same source. So we are all entangled. On an individual level, 2 people having a conversation are not just those 2 people in the conversation, but also all those with whom they are entangled: family, friends, co-workers, even the speeding individual who narrowly missed them on the freeway. Plus all those friends of friends whom they don't know. We see that this entanglement, this interconnected web, exists everywhere. So Deepak comes to the inescapable conclusion that the happiness of your perceived enemy is good for your well-being. There's no getting out of it. This is an astounding validation of the golden rule. So our takeaways are: our body is not a structure, it is a process in consciousness. This process is an activity in the biosphere, which is also a multitudinous process, which is also a dynamic relationship with the entire universe. Our mind is not in our brain, but everywhere in our bodies and outside of them. Our consciousness is a shared experience, not only with fellow humans, but with every living entity on the planet, including the planet itself. We are truly connected, and whether we act towards others with kindness, indifference, or cruelty, those actions also affect us in a very real way. This realization calls forth a great deal more than respect. It is genuinely awe-inspiring. It motivates us to really love others, not just those who are easy to love, family, friends, acquaintances, but also those who are very difficult to even tolerate, much less love. The Buddhist divine quality of equanimity helps us here. There are different kinds of love. Not hating is a good place to start. Our profound connectedness gives me a profound feeling of belonging and gratitude for existing, for experiencing the miracle of being alive. Thank you for listening. Namaste. Thank you.